All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I know it's been a while. New setup. I'm trying something different here. Trying to get a little more comfortable. And I got a microphone. So hopefully the audio turns out better than before. We'll see about that. Just moved into a new place about a week ago. So I know some of you are probably wondering, oh, well, he made the I'm back video and then he didn't post anything after that. Yeah, because I wasn't anticipating moving that soon, so it got a little bit busy, but I want to get back into some rug content once again. I hope you all enjoyed that video. I kind of like the more aesthetic style type of video. This one isn't going to be one of those. It's going to be more of a tip, how to, that type of video. So this video is going to focus on some ways to promote your rug business. And I picked 5 ways that I've done it personally. And so I'm going to go in order of, all of them worked for me to an extent, but I'm kind of going from work the least to work the best. So there's 5 different things I want to talk about. And so the first thing is markets, flea markets, whatever it may be. As you guys know, I did a video already about my experience doing a market. So you can check that out on my channel. So I wasn't really a fan as much of the market, and here's why. A lot of people were stunned by the prices of custom rugs. I don't think a lot of regular people expect rugs to be as much as they are, and so that was a tough selling point in the moment. But that's not to say that it wasn't a good way to advertise the business and to get people interested in rug making in general and kind of introduce them to something new. So I'd say the pros of that are getting to talk to people, getting some face-to-face time, letting people actually see the rugs, feel the rugs, everything like that. And then, did get quite a few Instagram followers from that and a couple people checking out the YouTube. And it's also just nice content to have. You're taking pictures there, being like, come check me out at the market. But the bad part was that it didn't result in a lot of orders. The only order I ended up getting from doing the flea market was actually from another vendor who wanted his logo for a rug. But in terms of people, customers going around the market, I didn't get a lot of people that actually wanted a rug ordered, just people that were there for the market. So that was kind of a bummer. And the reason it was my least favorite is because it was also the most amount of work. You had to, bring in the tent, bring in the table, bring in all these rugs. It would have been easier for me, obviously, if it was local, and it wasn't. It was like an hour away from my house, but a friend of mine introduced me to it, so I wanted to go and see him. But yeah, it's a lot of work. You have to haul all these things. You have to set everything up. You have to break everything down. You have to be there all day outside in the sun. It's hot. You have to be a good people person because a lot of people aren't familiar with what you're doing, and so you have to be able to talk to them and keep them interested and things like that. So that, overall, I think it's a good experience to have, but I would say in terms of this list, it was my least favorite, but it's still something worth trying out if you have something like that in your local area. So the next thing is what I would consider a type of guerrilla marketing that I did for one particular rug. And if you go on my Instagram page, you'll see what I mean. But so I made a Takashi Murakami rug, and I did it in like tan and brown, white, neutral tones. And I had seen someone do it on Instagram before, and I wanted it for myself, for my own space. And so I made one, and then what I did is I lived in La Jolla at the time, and so I was driving around La Jolla trying to find a place to take a picture of the rug at. Kind of like I did. Sometimes you'll see, a lot of times it's just me in my driveway or whatever it may be, but sometimes I get a little bit more creative. The Mac Miller rug I took on the cliffs of Gliderport in La Jolla, and this one actually I was in an area of La Jolla, and as many of you could probably tell, I'm a car guy. So I was driving down this strip of La Jolla where there's a bunch of car dealerships, and there was one in particular that I knew had this like yellow Mercedes. It was a 190 SL. And so luckily for me, beforehand when I went there, the car was parked inside, but luckily for me, it was parked outside. And the reason I wanted to take a photo at this particular spot was because the color of the car somewhat matched the color that I had on the rug. And so it was parked right on the main sidewalk. And so I set up the rug. I went inside and I asked the owner, I said, hey, I made this art. Can I just take some photos by the car? He said, yeah, no problem. Went outside, set it up on the sidewalk. And I had a lot of people, as I was taking pictures, walking by being like, oh, what is that? Oh, that's cool. And I got to talk to a lot of people and say, oh, like I made this. This is what I do. I make rugs, blah, blah, blah. And so nothing really resulted from that. It wasn't necessarily, I got like 10 people to take orders from me on the street or something like that. I think it was more so similar to the flea market. You're kind of just introducing people to the idea and allowing people to see it and touch it if they want to and be able to really see the work that you're doing. And I also think it results in cool content as well because, I use the photos in front of the Mercedes, and I think when you're like me and you have interests that are able to collide like cars and rugs, then it always turns out well in the end. So the third one I have titled as just like word of mouth. And so I'll give you an example for me. When I started making rugs, I did it as a hobby. I wasn't planning on selling them. I know I've talked about that in other videos before. And then what ended up happening is one of my roommates actually reached out to me and said, hey, I want you to make me a rug. That is what ultimately started my rug making journey, was that first order, because then that made me think, oh wow, people actually want to buy this stuff. And so, one roommate turns into more roommates, and then more roommates turns into roommates' friends, and then roommates' friends talk to their friends. So once that word of mouth kind of starts to spread, that's how you're going to gain a lot of business. And it only starts with one person that you really know. And luckily for me, I lived with a lot of people at that time, so I had a lot more people around me that were interested. To go on top of that, another big thing that I think is good, and this will kind of tie into the next step as well, but when the Instagram page was still growing, I used my personal Instagram a lot to promote the stuff because, well, obviously all of my close friends are on there. And then they were able to see it, and then they wanted to support their friend and also get a cool piece of art for their room. And then another big thing is, if you're part of some sort of hobby, interest, industry, whatever it may be, there's a lot of people that are willing to support you within those groups. For example, I've been a skateboarder basically my whole life, and the skateboarding community is very close, at least the one that I grew up in. And so a lot of my orders initially were skateboarders that I knew, and then friends of those skateboarders that I knew that wanted to support a fellow skater. So if you're part of some sort of hobby or activity or interest, like I said, be sure to market your stuff to those people that you think would be willing to support you because you have similar interests. That ended up working out for me really well, and I think it could work out well for you as well. That was a lot of wells in one sentence. So the fourth one is utilizing various social media platforms. So, I went to school for marketing. I do social media marketing as my job now for a property management company here in San Diego. And, I can't emphasize enough the importance of social media and knowing how to use it and using it for your benefit to help grow your business. I started on Instagram. I didn't even start with the rug Instagram at first. The rug Instagram at first was a archive, photography page that I had started that only had probably 30 or 40 followers. I was posting all the rugs I was making on my personal Instagram. And then once I started to make more and more, I realized I needed a rug page. So I just switched the username on that photography page, and that became dw.rugs. But, using Instagram and stories and posts and things like that to be able to grow is huge, because that's honestly for me how I've been able to reach the most amount of people, is starting with the personal Instagram, because all of my close friends were able to see what I was doing, and that resulted in a lot of orders. And then you're able to experiment. I started with just normal pictures of the rugs I was making. Then you get outside, like I said, you take photos by cars or by nature, whatever it may be, and then you start making reels, you start making videos of the rugs that you're doing, because Instagram, for a long time, and still to this day is pushing reels to people on their explore page. And then same thing, you start making TikToks. TikTok is tough because the algorithm is pretty random. You never really know. I've posted quite a few, and then I had one that randomly blew up for whatever reason like a month after I had posted it. So it's kind of random, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't try, right? Because it's there and it can help you. And then, if you want to turn that into a YouTube page like I did, because once I started getting a little more comfortable making videos in general, then I said, okay, maybe it's time for me to make a YouTube, because I feel like there's not a lot of rug content on YouTube. And then other little things too, like sometimes I'll post rugs on my Snapchat stories, which are like, I use Snapchat for like my really, really close friends. And then if they're swiping up, then I know that I'm probably going to get an order from that. And then once again, just pushing stuff. If you have a personal Instagram that has a lot of followers already and you have a lot of close friends that are supporting you, really make sure that you utilize that, because it's really hard to grow a page organically from nothing. Because if I didn't have the support of a lot of the friends around me and people that I knew both from San Diego and from Wyoming to follow the page to give it that initial growth, it would have been really, really hard to just use like hashtags and stuff like that to try to grow organically. And then the final thing I want to talk about, and this one is actually, I thought of this and this was the reason I wanted to make this video, is because I've had a lot of people reach out to me on DMs or YouTube comments, whatever, and say, what is the best way for me to grow my rug business? Now, I know I just said that I think social media is the most important way, and I do still believe that. But I think if you want to think outside the box a little bit, one of the best things that I did to help the business grow is making free rugs for people and sending it to them. So for example, and you've probably seen this on my Instagram, I made a rug for a snowboarding podcast that I really liked, and it's called the Bomb Hole. So they had a logo that I thought I could turn into a rug, and I ended up doing it. I didn't tell them I was doing it. I just had some extra yarn and some extra time, and I thought, hey, I will make this and I'll send it to them, and hopefully, they'll answer me and be able to get back to me. Now, luckily for me, I know quite a few snowboarders, and so, I knew that I was going to get at least some sort of answer. And what ended up happening is they messaged me back and said, wow, thank you so much. I appreciate it. They reposted the story, I believe. And, I thought that was going to be it. And so I sent them the rug. I was happy. It's still in their studio to this day, which I'm, very grateful for. But what ended up happening is once they actually received the rug, I, woke up one morning and I went on the rug page, and I probably had like 100 new followers. I was getting all these likes and comments, and I had like 20 different DMs, and I was like, what just happened? Like, I had no idea. Come to find out, I went on my Instagram and I was tagged in a post. They actually made an entire video of them unboxing it and showing it and saying thank you and everything like that. They made it its own post, which is huge. Now, that's not always going to happen. It's not always going to be the case, but luckily for me it was. And it resulted in a lot of orders from a lot of different people, and I was booked for like the next few months because of that, and which was great. But I think, if you have someone in mind, maybe it's a YouTube creator, it's a business that you like, it's a podcast, it's something with a logo, anything like that. People really appreciate, when you give them things like that, and especially when it's free. So, just keep that in mind as, a little tip to try to help promote your business, because, people appreciate art. They appreciate getting free things. And yeah, so I hope this video wasn't too all over the place. Obviously, I'm a little rusty. I've been out for a couple months, but yeah, trying out something new, and I hope that you took something from this video. Leave a comment if you have any questions or you have any ideas for future content that you want me to do, because I'm going to start, getting back into things once I'm fully moved into this place. It's still a work in progress. That's why I'm on the couch, not in my room like I usually would be. So, yeah, thank you as always, and I will see you in the next video.